Good morning and welcome to StudyIQ. I am Prashant Mavani. I hope you're all doing good, my dear friends. Today is 29th November, Thursday today. Let's start our day with this quote from Voltaire. God gave us the gift of life. It is up to us to give ourselves the gift of living well. Living well is something that is totally on us, and this is a gift that we can give to the gift that is given to us by God, Ishwar, Allah. With this, dear friends, StudyIQ provides pen drive and tablet courses for various different exams. To find out more about it, do check out StudyIQ.com. If you have any question or queries, you can feel free and give us a call on the numbers that you can see on your screen. Now, can you tell me the name of a strait, that is in this editorial today? Just take a guess. Post your guess answers in the comment section of this video. And I'm sure many of you have tried it, so let's unveil this thing. So it's this Kerch Strait that is in news, right, because of this clash that is going on between Ukraine and Russia. Now I'm going to take you through some I would say that background theory or history of these two countries. Now first of all, let's locate these countries here, or this area. It's also known as Europe's Eastern Corridor. This is country in news, Ukraine, and then you have this Russia here. This portion here is called Ural Mountain, right? And this portion here is also known as a Eurasian portion, because this portion of Russia is having, this European culture, and the eastern part of this Ural Mountain, you find this, Eastern culture. So this is the place here, this is the portion here where you find mix of both, Russian, or not Russian, but European and Asian culture merging with each other. So it's known as Eurasian portion, right? Eurasian portion, that's what it is called. Now, back in 2014, this Crimean portion was annexed by Russia. The population that was living here in Crimea for a very long period of time, the majority of people living here were Russian. There was a time when this whole portion was part of USSR. This portion here, roughly speaking, this was part of USSR. So if you go through, this corridor, you find there are a few countries. They share a sort of, I would say, a good relationship with Russia. And there are a few countries, they don't have that good relationship with Russia because they have, this, when I said Russia, I'm talking about USSR, or this main, this character, or this, I would say, the way of living of USSR as well as Russia. So there are a few countries, like say, for example, there are people in Poland, they are they have a sort of bitter memory when it comes to, or they are a bit skeptical in developing relationship with Russia or USSR because of this, negative history. So in Ukraine as well, you have so many Russians living in Ukraine. They share a sort of emotional tie, good positive emotional tie with Russia. And there are people in Ukraine who are not Russians, and they are a bit skeptical, and they are a bit afraid, or I would say they don't want to merge with Russia. They don't have that same emotional attachment with Russia. Right, I hope these basic ththings are clear to you now, and this government of Ukraine is not pro-Russia. It is in fact at present, the present government is I would say pro-Europe. And here, this is the portion here. We find these martial laws are applied in this portion because of this recent incident that took place here in this Sea of Azov. Now, Sea of Azov is here, as you can see, and here is Black Sea. So if you want to enter or exit Sea of Azov, you have to pass through this this strait, right? This Kerch Strait. And this Kerch Strait is a problematic area for people of Ukraine, particularly because you find here that Russia is building a bridge, right? A 12 miles long bridge is being built by Russia, and you can see here, this is a small, you can say, information regarding this bridge. It is 115 feet or 35 meter above the water, so it's a huge bridge, and it's about providing this land connectivity to this two portion here. It connects basically this Russian portion with this Crimean portion that is, of course, claimed by Russia as its own. So this bridge is a problem for people of Ukraine, or for Ukraine, because the thing is, earlier on, say for example, if you want to send something from this part to this part, then it used to take just not even a day. But now it takes a week just to pass this Kerch Strait, because Russia will do checking if you are entering or exiting this Sea of Azov. Then you have to go through these checkups, and this checkup is taking somewhere around 6 to 7 days. And it is also said that for a big ship, right, for one day, if there is a delay of 24 hours, then it will cost you somewhere around $15,000, right? So that's a huge amount. $15,000 is not a small amount. And just imagine if you have to wait here for 6 days, right? Then 15 into 6, so we are talking about nearly $90,000 or nearly $1 lakh. And then you have your perishable items will get destroyed. So it's basically, having a negative impact on this portion of Ukraine. So I hope things are clear to you now. Now let's see what we have got in this editorial. I have tried to to give you this background things that are going on, and then we'll go through this editorial. Right, so this thing is in news because Russia has captured 3 Ukrainian naval ships and over 20 crew members in the disputed Azov Sea. Now this chapter is, it looks like a coincidence, because back in 2013, November 2013 to be precise, there was a protest in Maidan Square, that is in Ukraine, and the protesters, they were demanding integration of Ukraine with Europe. And since then, things are bit overt when it comes to this issue that is going on between people of Ukraine and people of Russia, and things started getting more and more heated. And finally it was in 2014 when Russia invaded this Crimean portion, and this Crimea was annexed by this portion here, right? Let me show it to you in this map. We have a proper map here. So it was here, this Crimean portion, it was this portion that was back in 2014, it was annexed by Russia, because Russia said that most of the people living in this Crimean portion, they are Russians, and it's their decision. It is the people of this Russian people. They were demanding Crimea's integration with Russia, and all Russia has done is it has listened to this voice of people. That's what Russia said. And since this annexation of Crimea, things have gone really bad. Between, when I say bad, I mean to say this relationship between Russia and European countries, or Western world to be more precise. Now in Western world, you have these countries like France, Germany, all those countries that are supporting this, France, Germany, UK, and you have USA and other countries. Now the relationship between the USA and Russia, it's cutthroat competition. And then you have a few countries who are supporting Russia, and there are a few countries who are totally against Russia. So Russia is just like Saudi Arabia. Russia is again a very important player as far as energy is concerned, because it is, if I'm not wrong, number 1 in gas production. And Russia used to supply gas to all these countries, right? Germany, France, Italy, and other European countries. But after this annexation of 2014, sanctions were applied on Russia, and there are so many countries today they don't buy gas and other items from Russia. So Russia was feeling a little bit nervous, but then Russia found a friend called China, and China is energy hungry country. It is ready to purchase, it is ready to buy all the gas that is if Russia can, if Russia is capable enough to supply enough gas, then China is ready to purchase that gas. So now things are, or gas and other items are moving on this side. Earlier on it was going this side. So there is also one, this analysis is there as well, and this is right too, that this sort of sanctions have not really worked to create pressure on Russia. There was this 2014-15 Minsk peace accord, and as per this peace accord, or multiple accords that were, or agreements that were signed between Russia and Ukraine, and both these nations decided that they will not use, this military force and you can say big bombs and attacks and things like that. So it was agreed by both these countries, but what we find is we don't see big, you can say, bombs and big sort of attacks taking place here, but we certainly do find low intensity combat in this part. And United Nations Security Council is a bit worried about this thing. NATO members are a bit worried about this thing, but as far as I know, right, they are not going, means no one can do anything about it, because Russia is United Nations Security Council's permanent member, and you have 3 members, right, who are against Russia. You have UK, you have France and USA, but they cannot do anything because Russia too is having this veto power. And then you have Russia's friend on board, that is China. In Europe as well, there are a few countries, they are divided. So, as I told you, that a few countries are saying that we should have a chat, conversation, dialogue with Russia, and we can sort out this issue. And there are a few countries who are saying that we need to impose a bit more harsh sanctions on Russia. And there are a few hawkish people as well in USA's administration. They are, they are asking for, and they are clearly, indicating that there should be a sort of sanctions and more pressure and things like that. So overall, I can say that things are not going to be that smooth in near future, but at least every party involved in this, all stakeholders, of course, they should try to make things, or they should try to pacify things that are going on in this part of the world. So I hope things are clear to you. I have given you reasonably good background, as well as some current scenario. So next time when we will talk, remember, we will start from just in case if we find an article tomorrow or maybe in near future, then we'll directly talk about things. We'll not go through these maps and other items, because we have already talked about all these things now, isn't it? Right, so let's move on. And before moving ahead, please pay attention to this thing, right? Tamil Nadu is in a very bad situation because of this cyclone Gaj. So if possible, right, do try your level best to contribute as much as you can. For whatever reason, if you cannot contribute money, then may I request you guys that at least spread the word and do share this message with other people, right? That will be a big help as well. So don't leave it on someone else, right? Don't think that someone else will help, right? It's quite natural, that's how we think, that someone else will do it for us, or someone else. There are so many people doing it. If everyone will start thinking like this way, that if someone is doing it, then no one will be there, so it's important that we stand up. Even if we can contribute 1 rupee, every drop counts, right? So please take it a bit seriously. Now we are going to talk about this one without maternity benefits, and this one is about this Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana. There are a few flaws in this PMMVY, and to understand that thing, we have to understand the situation of our country. Now, situation of, I would say, pregnant ladies, and there are a few surveys, and this article is based on a survey as well. When the writer of this article, who is part of this survey, or the main person who conducted this survey, when she was here in Jharkhand at that point of time, she came across a lady called Yashoda Devi. And Yashoda Devi, of course, she is a lady from Jharkhand, and she was in extreme pain. The doctor had told her that she was very weak and had advised her to improve her nutritional intake, and the reason why she was not able to improve her nutritional intake is, of course, poverty. Poverty was, or in fact is, one of the main culprit. And you see this, many a times you find that poverty is one of the worst, you can say, it's the biggest disease, because with poverty comes, it's a package. So lack of education, then lack of proper food, so there are so many things, unhealthy way of life, and so it will fuel more poverty. So poverty is it's a sin, I would say. It is something that we can definitely get rid of if all of us work together. It will take time, but we can sort this thing out. There are so many countries today, right? They used to be a very poor country. Like take example of South Korea or Singapore, right? It was not doing that well, but at present it is doing outstanding. So yes, it is possible. So there is a ray of hope, of course. Now coming back to this article, National Food Security Act. To understand this PMMVY, we have to understand this National Food Security Act, NFSA, that was introduced in our country in 2013. Now I'm sure it's very basic, right? You know that you are provided with food items under this NFSA, and it's not just about food, but with this, every pregnant woman is entitled to maternity benefits of rupees 6,000, which is a big help, right? Pre and post delivery time, 6,000 rupee is not a small amount. It's a big amount for so many people of our country, and this 6,000 rupee can be used for, for nutrition and for buying food items for mother, and so it's a big help. It's a big help. 6,000 rupees is not bad. Now there is a condition here, and this condition is quite logical too, that if you are, say for example, if a lady is working for government, if she is a government employee, and if she is receiving similar benefits, or under other law, if she is receiving similar benefits, then she will not get this 6,000 rupees under NFSA. So that's something that we can understand. Now the problem is when you have this Pradhan Mantri Matrutva Vandana Yojana that was launched by our Prime Minister back in 31st December 2016. Because of this PMMVY, there are so many ladies, they are not able to get this benefit of NFSA. Now the problem with this PMMVY is, in fact, we have problems, right? We have three main problems. The first one is that the benefits have been reduced from 6,000 to 5,000 per child. So, earlier on you used to get this 6,000, but now you get 5,000. So that's a loss of 1,000 rupee for a poor family. Second, they are now restricted to the first living child. So this money you get, this benefits, right? You'll get for first living child only. So that's a bit of problem. And the third one is that they are further restricted to women above the age of 18 years. Now in our country, this is not a strange thing. Of course it is wrong, but this is something that we find. There are so many girls out there, right? Mostly in poor areas, mostly I would say, and girls are somewhere 16 and a half, and they are, this child marriage is something that we find in our country in small pockets, but it is still there. And there are a few girls out there. I'm using the word girl here because I strongly believe that anyone who is below 18 is a child, right? In this case, there are, we can always argue when it comes to crime. There are a few heinous crimes conducted by some teenagers when they are 17 and a half, or maybe 1 month short to 18. So that's a different topic, right? So here we are talking about this ladies or these girls who are, say for example, 17 years and maybe 9 months or maybe 11 months old, and 17 years and 11 months old. So they are just 1 month or 2 or 3 months short of 18 years. And if they are pregnant for whatever reason, right, and if they are not allowed these benefits, then that's a bit of unfair thing, isn't it? Because they are the ones who are in desperate need of this 6,000 rupees for not only for themselves but also for their babies. So this is the third point. So these are the three issues that we find with this PMMVY. Apart from that, there are other things as well, like say for example, this first order birth account for only 43% of all births in our country. So first order births means first time for the first baby of a lady. So that accounts for 43%. So majority of cases are second, or it's not first order birth. So here these ladies, they don't get benefit of this sorry about that, they don't get this benefit of this PMMVY, or they don't get benefit of this NFSA 2. Then among those who were eligible, a little over half had applied for maternity benefits. And then you have to go through this cumbersome, or this big forms that you have to fill up. You have to add so many details in it. You have to add your PAN number and account details and other items. If you don't have PAN number, or if you don't have this account number, or you have to put your Aadhaar card details, not only yours but also your husband's detail. And in case if that could be this sort of cases as well, where things are not going very well between husband and wife. If they are separated or if they are divorced, then as well it becomes a bit problematic for the lady. So all these things are creating lots and lots of hurdles for pregnant ladies of our country. So I hope things are clear to you with this without maternity benefits. And now let's talk about this item here. We have two items. This one is this in a spirit of accommodation. It's about RBI versus government. Things are finally sorted out. And then we have the central bank recap. Again, one editorial about RBI. So these two items are easy to understand, I believe, because remember, we have talked about Section 7 many a times. We have talked about RBI versus government. What are these issues? We have talked about this point as well. I have explained this thing to you as well, that it is quite common to find this sort of a little bit of tussle going on between any central government with any apex, with apex bank of that particular country. It's not just in India. You find this thing in USA, in UK, in other countries too. It's quite natural because an apex bank will be a bit more technical, or it's focused. It would be focused on more technical side of things, and government of that country would be a touch of politics is something that is quite it's quite common to find. Then it's not just about touch of politics, but an apex bank will keep a fine balance. I'm not saying that apex bank is always right, and I'm not saying that the government is always wrong, but government will have to look after so many stakeholders at the same time. Apex bank will be focused on more technical side of things. Now, it's not just this, it's not that everything is always opposite between RBI or an apex bank and government. There are many points where they are on the same page, like say, for example, when it comes to economic development, when it comes to controlling inflation, when it comes to growth, when it comes to jobs, employment generation, so many things. So in this article, in a spirit of accommodation, it starts with this this famous saying, right, that all's well that ends well. So it's good that things are sorted out. There was a meeting between this RBI and government, and this meeting went well. Things are so far so good, I can say. And there was another meeting between RBI and RBI board. So when I say RBI, we are talking about this governor and this management body of RBI. And here you have Government of India. Then you have this RBI board, where you have representatives of government, and you have a few chaps from RBI. Right, so they are part of this RBI board. So there was a meeting between RBI management and RBI board, and things are looking pretty much all right with these two parties as well. So we have this triangle here, and we have three parties here. Now, for Section 7, you know many things about it, right? It's been 83 years nearly, and we have never used Section 7. Section 7 is basically, it defines this thing that when government has this right to issue directions to RBI in public interest, and to enforce this thing, government can use this Section 7. Now I'll take you through this 1957 case. Benegal Ramu Rao, he was RBI's governor, and he resigned as a governor because he was not on the same page, or there was a little bit of you can say a tussle going on between RBI governor and government of India at that point of time in 1957. And at that point of time, Jawaharlal Nehru wrote a letter. Of course, the tone of the letter was a bit harsh, but then Prime Minister wrote that you have laid stress on the autonomy of a Reserve Bank. Certainly, it is autonomous, but it is also subject to the central government's direction. That's what Nehruji wrote in this letter, and he also said that monetary policies must necessarily depend upon the larger policies which a government pursues. It is in the ambit of those larger policies that the Reserve Bank can advise. So here what we find is that this Jawaharlal Nehru, or Prime Minister or Government of India at that point of time, clearly stated that see, when we are not on the same page, or if you are saying or if you are suggesting something, then you should keep this thing in mind, that as a government we have a big picture. We have to look after so many things. Like, say for example, this is, you can say, policy, or this is the box of government. Government is looking after all these things. So RBI's policy should fit, monetary policy should fit in this, this big picture. That's what this letter is trying to say, and this is right as well. Means if they have, just in case, any sort of disagreements, then they can always have a chat and they can sort out things between them. But now it looks like things are all right, and a couple of years ago there was this committee called Urjit Patel Committee, and just this Urjit Patel Committee, it was headed by this Urjit Patel, who is our current governor. So that committee was given this task to suggest a way through which we can maintain autonomy of RBI, particularly when it comes to monetary policy. And it was suggested by this committee that there should be one monetary policy committee, and this thing was accepted by government, and now we have this monetary policy committee. MPC meetings, they do take place, and then you have 3 members, total 6 members. So you have 3 members from RBI and 3 members from government, or these 3 members are appointed by government. And if things are, decisions are based on majority, and if there is a sort of tie-up, then RBI governor's decision is the final decision. So here as well we can see that government has, it's not that government has tried all the time to curb its autonomy. Government has done things that are necessary to make sure that this RBI is autonomous. We can clearly see it from this MPC and the functioning of MPC. Now you have this RBI and RBI board. They had a meeting between them too. And in section 2 of this RBI Act, we find that RBI board it's said in this section 2 that RBI board can suggest, and it can play a very important, it can suggest to RBI governor, and they have to, this RBI governor has to, you can say, obey things said by RBI board. And in section 3 we find that RBI governor, or this management, they can go through the advice, but the final decision is there. So the tradition that we have in our country, when I said tradition, I mean to say this tradition between, or this mutual understanding between RBI and RBI board has always been that RBI board plays a role of an advisor, and RBI management will at least go through this advice that is coming from RBI board, and then decisions will be taken. So things are, so far things have been all right, and that's what we need to maintain. We need to maintain this balance, and in case if there are any disagreement, then it's very easy to understand that discussion is the only key. Now we have this one, central bank recap. So I have talked about so many things on this topic, so I'm not repeating things here. There are a few new things here that I would like to draw your attention at. So this one, both gross and net non-performing assets have registered a decline for 2 consecutive quarters, June and September 2018. We find there is a decline, so that's a good news. Then there is a warning here that Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana, that has given out 6.77 lakh crore rupees. There are chances that we may find a few bad debts or NPAs in this amount, so we have to be worried about this thing. And a figure that I have for you guys is that at present 10 lakh crore rupees, right? 10 lakh crore rupees is the total amount of approx amount of bad loans or NPAs. So that's everything. Now we have one article on this protect indigenous people. Again, something that is not that new to you guys. We have talked about this thing. We were talking about it yesterday as well, isn't it? So I'm going to be very quick and brief here. You have names of 6 tribes, right? There are 4 tribes, 4 ancient Negrito tribal communities in Andaman Islands, and they are Great Andamanese, Onge, Jarva, and Sentinelese, right? This where the Sentinelese were in news. Then you have 2 Mongoloid tribal communities in Nicobar Islands. They are known as Somfen and Nicobaris, right? So I have a feeling that this names are important, and you should be very clear when, if just in case if you find a question, an MCQ on this thing, that Somfen are found in Andaman, then you should be clear that no, they are found in Nicobar. So pay attention here. If you have to, then by heart this thing. Then you have this Andaman and Nicobar Islands Protection of Aboriginal Tribes Regulation, ANPATR, since 1956, and from the name itself you can understand that it is about protecting. This is a law about protecting Aboriginal tribes here. Now one more add-on thing that we have is this one, that Andaman trunk road is being constructed, and this trunk road is encroaching this area where you find this Java people living, and this trunk road has negatively it has created this negative impact on the lives of Java community. So these are a few things here, right? Now moving on to latest news. Kashmir is the single issue, has been said by Imran Khan, who is Prime Minister of Pakistan, and he was this in audience. He had this Harsimrat Kaur Badal and Hardeep Puri. They traveled to Pakistan, and Mr. Khan thanked Navjot Sidhu as well for his role in taking forward this proposal of this corridor. This was inaugurated from Pakistan side. So that's a good news. Now, suspect in Sujat killing has been shot dead, and here we can see one of our CRPF personnel has been injured as well. So let's pray for his early recovery. Aviation Ministry warns airline to drop web check-in fee, and death penalty freakishly imposed, has been said by Justice Kurian Joseph of Supreme Court. Here you have figures of this voters turnout in Madhya Pradesh and Mizoram, and we have this news item that new data show economy never hit high growth phase. India's GDP growth never crossed over into high growth phase of about 9% in last decade or more. New Beck series data from 2004-5 released by the government on Wednesday shows, and here you have this average of UPA growth and you have average of NDA growth, and vocabs are here for you guys. Yesterday's map based or photo based question, the answer is Stewart Island, that is off the coast of New Zealand's South Island, and you have this new picture here. So it's, I believe, a little bit difficult, but if you observe clothes and other things, then you will find out what it is all about, right? So I hope many of you will get it, and this is your answer for yesterday's question. And I have a new question for you guys. That's everything in today's discussion. You can download the PDF of today's lecture from my FB page and Twitter handle. If you have any question or queries regarding your preparation or anything, then you can write it in FB message and get in touch with me. And may I request you guys to share this lecture with other students as well. Thank you very much. God bless you all, and please do pay attention to this item as well, right? It's very serious, so if possible, do help the people of Tamil Nadu. God bless you all. Jai Hind.